I would like to start with some of our guidelines. We've been doing this for a number of years and we feel these do work, so we're going to stick to the program. So this annual event is held so our senior population can make an informed decision when they vote on Tuesday, April 2nd. Each candidate will be given 5 minutes to make their presentation. So you can come to the podium, and you have 5 minutes. Nancy's timing you. I don't know where she went, but she's going to time you. We have a giant book that we're going to bring out. Presentations will begin at one end of the table and continue down. So I don't care what side you go to, but we'll go down, okay? After each candidate makes their presentation, there will be a question and answer period. Questions from the audience are limited to two different questions per person. Because we have low attendance, we will probably waive that. So if you have more questions, we'll be happy to take those. Questions must be directed towards a candidate. No debates are allowed. Let's see. Okay, so someone will be watching for the allotted time. You'll be signaled when your 5-minute limit has come up, and then that's pretty much it. All that I ask is that we don't have debates, because sometimes they don't get so pretty, and we want to keep things pretty around here. So, with that, I would like to welcome, Mike, you want to start? You want to start with your end of the table? Yeah, maybe? No? Yeah. Are you more comfortable standing there, Mike?
No, whatever you want me to do.
Whatever you want to do. That's how I'm rolling today. Oh, just don't wreck the place.
You just got 3 months saying you want to see the toilet, right? I'm very sorry.
Nope, no big deal. It's over anyway. We gotta take this stuff down. Okay.
Good morning, folks. My name is Mike Visconti. I am running for one of the seats on the school committee this year. And I'm asking you for your vote on April 2nd. I have lived in Milford all my life. I have been a town meeting member for in excess of 40 years. I served on the zoning board for 20 years. So I think I have shown that I am committed to the town of Milford. I have degrees in management and finance. And what you're going to hear about the qualifications from all the candidates. But I believe what sets me apart from the rest of the candidates is I have vast experience in budgeting and finance. I have prepared and administered numerous multi-million-dollar budgets for all kinds of organizations, including financial institutions. And budgeting is one of the main purposes of a school committee member. And that's why I think that distinguishes me from all of the other candidates. The other thing that I will say to you is that I know that a lot of our seniors are on fixed income, and they have to watch every dollar they spend. Some of them even make sacrifices so they can pay their taxes like good citizens. And keeping in mind that 60% of their tax money goes to the schools, it should be well spent and it should be well monitored. I can do that for you. I hate to say this, but I know some seniors who make such sacrifices that they may give up some of their medications in order to pay their taxes. This is not right. You may ask how I know this. I know this because I am one of them. I am a very frugal person. I live in a very small, unassuming house. I drive an old Ford. I have to watch every dollar I spend and every penny I spend. Some people may call me a cheapskate. Some people say I throw nickels around like they're manhole covers. And that may be, but that should tell you that I will look after every dollar the school committee spends like it was my own, and like it was your own dog. You deserve that from a school committee member. I will stop the irresponsible, uncontrolled spending that goes on now in the school department. I know I can't do this by myself, but with your help on election day, I can start the process to bring our school system back to a level that we once had without spending exorbitant amounts of money, without draining the wallets of our seniors who have, in a lot of cases, worked for so many years, their fingers to the bone, so they would be able to pay their taxes. It's not fair to them. I will work hard to make sure that you are treated properly and that your money will not be wasted. I ask for your vote on election day. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Mike Bismarck.
Good morning. My name is Tarek Miranda, and I'm running for a seat on the Milford School Committee. Is that better?
Yes.
My name is Tarek Miranda, and I'm running for a seat on the Milford School Committee. I was born and raised in Milford, and my parents immigrated here from Brazil back in the late 80s, early 90s, and a lot of people today say that the problem with the town is it's economically with the school system, that it's economically disadvantaged, and we're spending too much money on English second language students. And I'm proof that you can come here and succeed. And I graduated from Milford High in 2014. I graduated from Wentworth Institute of Technology in 2018. I currently work at MIT Lincoln Labs. They're a federal contractor with MIT and the government. I work up at Hanscom Air Force Base. And I want to be a role model for all these economically disadvantaged students because I grew up, my parents still live paycheck to paycheck, so I know how it is, and I know how a lot of them must feel, and I feel like they need a voice. And if we can get them to do better, we raise the bar for everyone to do better. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm running for school committee.
Hello everybody, my name is RJ Sheedy and I am a candidate for Milford School Committee. I'm running for a lot of reasons. As a recent graduate of Milford High School, I'm running because I believe in our students and their education. I really want to ensure that every student has a better educational experience than the student before them. I first got interested in the school committee 7 years ago as a student at Milford High School. In a video production class, my teacher asked us one day if there was anyone in the class who was interested in filming the school committee meetings with our town's cable station. And I stepped up to do this. I wanted the experience in television production, and what I also got with that experience was a course in civics and how this part of our town government works. And since then, I really got involved in the town. I became a town meeting member, and I started producing a television talk show on our local TV station, where I've interviewed a whole bunch of people. I've interviewed Joe Kennedy, Brian Murray, our state senator, a whole bunch of people. Basically everybody from the community, almost everybody from our local government has had a seat on my show at some point. There's a lot of things that I would love to see the school department do if I were to be elected. I would love to see the schools become greener, more sustainable schools to help our district save the money that the schools could use. I want to see us implement a district-wide late bus to encourage all of our struggling learners to receive the extra help they need, and to allow all of our kids to partake in extracurricular activities without that burden of transportation falling onto the student or their families. I want to see more vocational and project-based learning experiences for students who may not be on a traditional path to college, and they could get a better job after high school. I feel like there's so many great things that our district can do, and I really feel like I am the right person who could tackle this role. I believe I am the person who really understands today's students and today's schools, and I would love for your vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
everybody. My name is Jim LaGuarre. I'm candidate re-elect for school committee, so I've just spent the last 3 years on the committee, and it was an amazing experience for me. I'm looking for the opportunity to continue to do that for another 3 years. I started my civic career with Milford over the last 10 years on the personnel board, 5 of those years being chairman, working with some of the amazing folks on that board, like Warren Heller and Phyllis Ahern. And then ultimately moving to the school committee. I'm a born and raised Milfordian. I've lived here my whole life, 48 years. My father, Tom, and my mother, Barbara Caracino, are neighbors to the area. And I'm looking for an opportunity to continue for another 3 years. The last 3 years have allowed me the opportunity to participate in many activities. I've been on 6 subcommittees: IT, FinCom, budget, marketing, policy, have all given me the opportunity to work with administration, work with students, and help move the district forward. When I'm not on school committee, I am a global program manager for Dell EMC in Hopkinton, which has given me the opportunity to provide a lot of business insight, budget overview and analysis, strategic marketing, and execution plans that I bring from my private industry role into the district. So I'm looking for an opportunity to continue to do this for another 3 years, and I hope for your vote on April 2nd.
Good morning, Milford. My name is Justin Dulac, and I'm a candidate for school committee this spring. Quite simply, I'm running because I can hit the ground running. I'm unique in this race in that I am the only person running who has made a career in education. I studied in college, I currently serve on the Milford High School Improvement Council, and I've worked in the Sudbury Superintendent's office for the last 3 years. It would be an honor to use all the lessons I've learned through these experiences to improve the very schools that made me. I'm a born and raised Milfordian, and I'm dedicated to giving back to the town that I've always called home. Innumerable are my memories of spending half days with Johnny Jacks and TJ Collectibles, of playing the stock market game in Mr. Grillo's economics class, of the pride I felt when I put on my scarlet NHS singlet to win another match for Coach Boscia. My wife and I moved around a bit after college, but when the time came for us to buy a home and set down roots someplace, my heart would accept no substitute. I want our children to know the same diversity of ideas and experiences that is so foundational and fundamental to being a Milfordian. All of this, my background as a long-standing member of the town and as a student of education, has allowed me the insight to identify 3 main goals for the school committee to pursue going forward. First and foremost, we must always maintain the pursuit of educational equity as our district's guiding vision. This means providing an education tailored as much as possible to the unique needs of each and every student. More concretely, we must begin in earnest the process of renovating or reconstructing both MHS and Stacy Middle School. I reviewed the district's long-term facilities plan, and while impressive in its scope and vision, it represents only the first step towards modernizing our facilities. Last, but by no means least, we must look into adjusting the start times at both MHS and Stacy Middle School. Multiple public health organizations have declared that early start times, such as those employed by the Milford Public Schools, are harmful to our older students' health, and that means this is a topic we need to begin addressing immediately. This year's local elections are coming up quick on April 2nd. When you enter the booth, I hope you recognize my commitment, my experience, and my vision by giving me your vote. Again, my name is Justin Dulac, and I'm running to hit the ground running as your next school committee member.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Walsh, and I'm the current chairman of the Milford Board of Selectmen. I'm running for the 3-year seat. For those of you who don't know, I ran to fill Brian Murray's remaining 2 years. 2 years because he ran for state representative. I've served 9 years in the Milford School Committee. I served 2 years as chairman of the Milford School Committee. I served 9 years in the Milford Youth Commission. I served as chairman there as well. I served on the Army Renovation Committee, and I get a chuckle out of this, the building that we didn't need, Last Thursday, 250 children attended that building after school, and the programs that they're going in that building every single day. People ask me, why do you care? Because this is my community. And I'm going to give you 2 examples right now of why it's not a good time to make a change. For those of you who don't know, we had an agreement on the Milford Water Company, handshake between 2 attorneys in Boston for $63 million. We went to town meeting in May and funded that $63 million. There was a breakdown in negotiations. The town hired a consultant. They hired a consultant. Our consultant came back and said it's only worth $45 million, and theirs came back and said it's worth $158 million. So now we've got the Department of Public Utilities involved in it. And what we all lose sight of is that water is a resource, and you need to control your resources. And there are things that I can't talk about in the reports because it's confidential. But the town needs to take over the water company, very similar to the way that we run the successful Milford Sewer Department. That's just one example. The second example, and I'll stand here again, and I've said it at every single forum, I am 100% in Chief O'Loughlin's corner. And I won't talk about the stories, and I won't talk about the people that have reached out to me, but an amazing individual. I sit on the Police Chief Search Committee as chairman of the Board of Selectmen. And I made a statement the other night, is we're picking a police chief, but we're picking the police chief of our community, And we have to make sure that we do it properly. And some of the steps that we've taken as a committee, we've now agreed we're putting it on camera so that the town, the citizens, and the taxpayers of this community can watch it from home. So that they can see what we're discussing. They can see what direction we're going in. Maybe we won't be going anywhere for a while. I'll give you an example. Dino got picked as the chairman, 11-to-1 vote. We went to get vice chairman and deadlocked 6-6. It's an even committee. I don't know why. But anyway, you know, to get back to this community, a lot of people don't know when I ran for school committee, Paul does, because Paul's the one who convinced me to run. I'll never forget him for it. I waited till all my children were out of district, because I didn't want to have a dog in the fight. I wanted to be a complete member. I wanted to sit in that room and I wanted to vote on everything that affected you. And I do the same thing as a selectman. I do not have to walk out of that room once. If you saw the meeting the other night, there was a vote on something that involved a license at Imperial Cars. I've worked at Imperial Cars for 30 years. They came to me and said, are you going to walk out of the room? And I said, absolutely not. I've already done the research. All it is a vote on a license, approving a new license. And I sat in my chairman's chair and I took the vote. That's the type of person that I am. That's why I would ask for you to vote to put me back into office on April 2nd, so that I can continue to take care and care for the people in this community. Thank you very much.
Before you speak, one of my seniors just asked if you're an incumbent, can you raise your hand? That she just needed to know who's running for re-election. Okay, Aida? Thank you.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Hi, can everyone hear me? Hello, my name is Amy Clifford and I'm running for Board of Selectmen. And I'm running because we need a new voice on the Board of Selectmen. And might give you a couple reasons why now isn't a great time for change. But everybody that I talk to in town has a real problem with the current Board of Selectmen, and then they immediately tell me that I shouldn't be running because Mike's such a great guy, and he's always the one that votes no, and, you know, we should wait and get somebody new in like next year. But I'm running, you know, because I feel like we actually really do need a change, and we really don't want to wait till next year. I've traveled all around the world seen so many different places. It provides me a perspective and a vision that I can bring to Milford about how do we move this town to a future where our property values are going up. And I want to say that I've traveled all around the world, I've seen so many different places, and Milford is not by far the worst run government organization. Nicaragua was pretty bad. Malaysia was really bad. Malaysia was a really unfriendly place to be. But the Board of Selectmen in our town is pretty bad. It's up there. And the people I talk to in town, that's what they tell me. They tell me that the town is full of, the Board of Selectmen has bullies on it, that they're self-interested, and that they're secretive. And so Mike's had an opportunity for the past 2 years to stand up and deal with bullies on our selectmen, and he hasn't done it. So people hear about me and they're like, don't run because Mike's such a good guy. I'm here to run because I have a vision for Milford that takes us forward, and it's going to mean that our Board of Selectmen isn't focused on the things they shouldn't be focused on. Getting rid of the chief. The way that the Milford Water Company purchase has run out, now the town's in this position where we have to buy it no matter what. That's a really bad place for us to be. So anybody knows, I have a strong background in business, so anybody who's had a business experience, I mean, if you just went shopping at a bazaar and at a flea market, you'd know, you can't be in a position where you absolutely have to buy something. You know, the Milford Water Company, we should buy it, because it just puts us in line with everybody else, all the other municipalities that have their own water companies, but we don't have to buy it. You have to be able to walk away. So I know how to deal with bullies. I have integrity, I'm a lawyer, I stand up for people. I hope that you get to know me a little bit more. I hope that you don't just get complacent and wait for next year. There's a lot we can do this year, and I will work for you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Margaret Myatt, and I'm running for the Board of Trustees of the Milford Town Library. I am seeking your support and your vote. I am running because I'm a huge fan of the library and I want to contribute to its continued success. I had served as a trustee for 3 terms or 9 years, and I enjoyed my service tremendously. Back then, I did not seek re-election because of a job change, but now I'm retired and I have time to serve again. I've lived in Milford for 36 years, and I have demonstrated my commitment to the town in many ways. As I mentioned, I was a library trustee. Also, I am a longtime town meeting member. I serve on the Milford Commission on Disability, and I was the first president of the Friends of the Milford Upper Charles Trail. Milford's a great town, and I really enjoy giving back to it with my time and my service. I am able to dedicate time and service to complete the objectives of the library's current 5-year strategic plan, and I will always advocate for library resources at the local, state, and national levels. I am an avid public library supporter, and I look forward to serving as a trustee again. My family and I are enthusiastic library users, and we know what a fantastic resource it is for so many people. Again, my name is Margaret Myatt, and I'm asking for your vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Kristen Gardner. I have been a Milford resident for the last 14 years. I want to give you a little bit of background about me. I'm running for a trustee member of the Vernon Grove Cemetery. I am running because I, for the last 15 years, have worked for a cemetery corporation located in Sharon and Canton. They own 2 cemeteries, and we do almost 1,000 burials a year. And I, working there, have realized that there are so many opportunities that local smaller cemeteries don't know about, such as here in town, the Vernon Grove Cemetery has no burials listed anywhere on any online avenue. The only way you can find a loved one is actually a website called Find a Loved One, and not even all the burials are even on that. So that's one of the things I want to change with working with such a large cemetery as the ones that I work for. I know that you can put everything in an automated system. Currently, we're going to be updating everything. I was telling some of the board members today where it's going to be kind of like Google Maps, where you can type in somebody's name and it'll take you directly to the site, where you can see the headstones. I want to do something similar to that. I think it's a little bit more advanced than the town is ready for, but I want to be able to take a couple of my ideas, a couple of the things that I know works for the cemeteries that I work for, and put them into our community. We have a very strong community that wants to get out and be a part of things. We have a lot of people who nowadays are looking for their ancestry, their genealogy, and I want to be able to help people get that information that isn't normally available. I also noticed when I was doing some research on the cemetery before I decided to run that the bylaws are extremely outdated. They have not been updated since 1939. In a couple of places it talks about carriages, not even vehicles. I would like to start a fund to have, I know that there's 2 funds currently, but I want to start a bigger fund to have more upkeep in the cemetery. I know right now some of the trustee members told me the other night that they're going to be repaving the roads. And I think that we need to be also focusing on the broken markers that are there, that families are no longer around anymore. There's no reason why we should have any markers broken. We should be able to fix them, especially the ones that are that are historically a big part of our community. So there is a lot of ideas that I have for the cemetery, and I think that with my resources and my expertise, I can bring that to the town. I know that it's possible to do because, like I said, we do it at my place of work now. So I would just like everybody to give me a shot, give me a chance. Let me try to help the community as much as I can. And I hope for your vote on April 2nd. Again, my name is Kristen Gardner. Thank you.
I used to jump right up there very quickly. Now I'm like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz. I need the oil. Anyway, my name is Paul Mazzucchelli, and I'm running for the Milford Board of Health. And even though there is no race for the Board of Health this year, I just appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, the Milford residents, on the Board of Health, and go over a few questions that you may have too. Little brief history. Local boards of health in Massachusetts are required by state statute and regulations to perform many important and crucial duties relative to the protection of public health, control of disease, safe and sanitary housing, and of course the protection of the environment from damage and pollution. I've been your health agent for close to 42 years. It would be 42 years, July 5th of this year. And I've known that even though that we have a long-standing board between myself and the members, we really take it very serious, and we really have no room for complacency and entitlement. We feel as though that in order to be a good leader, a good elected official, or a good appointed official, you must first gain the trust and earn the trust of the public. And how we would do that throughout the years is to provide productive and effective service to the public. And that's what we were always after. Throughout the years, the Board of Health is constantly striving to improve the board to meet the needs of the community. We do that by improving on our existing programs and also trying to establish new programs that would more or less benefit the town to help the well-being of the community. Throughout my years as your agent, I did have the opportunity to establish very good relationships with the state officials, both Department of Public Health and Environmental Department of Public Health. Also other department heads throughout the town, which really helps out. But most of all, I felt comfortable in working with you, the public. In the past years, I'm much appreciated, and I get sometimes very emotional because I'm leaving a job that I had since I was a kid, really. And I was taken very well care of, not only myself, but my family by the residents of Milford. You folks have been very good to me and my family, and I really appreciate it. And I really look forward to the opportunity to serve in another capacity as a Board of Health member to more or less continue our service and our great service that we provide to the people of Milford when it comes to public health. Again, just to repeat myself for effectiveness, I do want to thank the public for their kind support that you have given me throughout the years, and it's something that I'll never forget. I'll carry that through the rest of my life. Milford is an awesome town with made up of awesome residents like yourself. And the only favor I do ask before I do retire in a couple of weeks is to stay awesome. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you all, that was very enlightening. Now, I would like to open up questions to our audience. If you weren't in the room, well, we're supposed to limit it to 2 questions, but I think we might waive that rule today because we don't have a lot of folks here. But please remember there will not be any debate. It's going to be questions and answers, okay? Who has the first question? Aida.
Yes, this is, am I pronouncing it right, Igor?
Yes.
Yes. What plans do you have for the schools? Because you gave us your background and so on, but you didn't say what you would like to accomplish to improve them, and I would like to hear a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So a couple of the things that I'm actually really passionate about is providing a good post-high school experience. So the two main things that we're focused on are curriculum alignment, making sure that from K through 12, we are laying out a very concrete and strategic roadmap from a curriculum perspective for the kids. But from the high school perspective, over those 4 years, we've been focusing specifically on what we would consider to be post-secondary outcomes. So what's going to happen once you graduate? We've got some kids that go to college, we've got some kids that are not going to college. One of my passions is trying to figure out and trying to put into place programs and outplacement for kids that are not on a college track. So we're working on additional curriculum like automotive, manufacturing, IT, hotel and restaurant management, engineering. So kids that either can't afford a college or are not going to be academically strong enough to get into college have an opportunity to learn an applied skill set so they can go out and get a job that will sustain a reasonable hourly rate. What we're trying to prevent, although there's nothing wrong with retail, is retail typically doesn't pay as well as a good, solid manufacturing job. If you went, just to give an example, if you went down to Target and you started at $12 an hour, or you went over to Waters, you would start at $14 to $16 an hour. There would be significantly more career mobility at Waters than there would be at Target. So for kids that are not going to college, we're putting together alternative curriculum opportunities that give them an advantage in the workforce once they graduate. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone?
Before I pose my questions, this one
Can't
here.
hear you.
Go ahead. It's on.
It's on?
Yep.
All right, before I pose my question, bear with me while I say thank you to Paul Mazzucchelli for his years of service to this town. And I know personally how dedicated he is, how patient he is. And he's not beyond getting his hands dirty, because I've seen him pick up trash himself. You are going to be missed
Thank you so much.
so much. Thank you. My question or concern, I guess, is for Mike and Amy. Okay, as you know, we're fortunate to have Sue Clark and her very dedicated staff, and this place has grown by leaps and bounds because of them. And as a result of that growth with more use, we need parking. And we are now competing with area businesses for parking spaces. That includes the Sorrento Room, the dance school, the barber shop, the auto place, and actually people who park there and wait for the school bus to come to pick up their children. And I want to know if you will do anything to help with this situation, because we've got seniors now forced to park way up the street, and recently someone had damage to their car as a result of it. So what will you do to help us out?
I can actually talk
Good
to that
question,
firsthand because I'm involved in it. So last week, the town administrator has informed the Board of Selectmen that he's meeting personally with those businesses. And if we have to, we're going to go back to, which caused a little bit of a ruckus a couple of years ago, sawhorses to block people out of here. So the seniors, this is the senior center. The seniors deserve to be able to pull in here and park, not park on the street. So we are aware of it, and we are already working on it. So, and I will follow up with Rick this morning, because I believe he was going out last Friday. You're welcome.
Amy, is that something you agree with?
Yeah, I don't know as much about that as Mike does, because he's working on that. But I can tell you this, the senior center is one of the treasures of Milford, and that's an area that, as Board of Selectmen, I focus on what we're doing really well, because that helps us move forward to have more things going really well. So as Board of Selectmen, I'm not going to focus on self-interested, conflicted, secret agendas that get rid of people. And
So you would support it? Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Again, to the same two people, if you're going to limit parking at the senior center, which I approve of, here we go. Because obviously, if you're with a cane or limping, you don't want to walk 2 blocks to get in. But there are all these businesses, then, if you forbid them to park here, where are they going to park? I mean, there's a limited street space. There's an empty, was it the Draper Company that's empty a few blocks down? Maybe you could build a 2-story parking area there that everyone could use that isn't a senior. I mean, what do you think of that idea? Obviously, we need more parking.
Well, I just want to be clear that we're not going to limit parking to the seniors. This is your parking.
I know, but
We're going to limit, we're going to make the businesses park where they should be.
but where?
Well, just as an example, you have the restaurant, the house next to it. Right next to that house is a municipal parking lot that gets barely used, okay? Gets barely used because it's a lot easier to park at the corner of the senior center and walk across the street in both examples. We want them to use the municipal parking lot. That's what it was built for. This is the senior parking lot. This is for the senior center, and they should respect that. They should respect that, and it's very frustrating, and I'm going to give you 2 examples. The signs that are on the end of the driveway, and some of those signs say, you know, exit only. I saw people pull into this morning.
Yes.
I'm going to use Sacred Heart Church as an example. We just put new signs. They tell you exactly which way to go. I still see people come across the intersection and go in the entrance on the church side. You know, I don't understand it, but no, we want to correct the situation here. We want you to be able to park in this parking lot and come right into the senior center, no matter what the weather is. Because every time we talk about parking, everybody gets talking about ice and snow. No, it doesn't matter what the weather is. This is your center. This is where you need to be able to park. And we are working on it. And those businesses are going to be forced to park into that municipal parking lot or on Exchange Street, where cars park right now. Or if they have to, they can park out here and walk. Not you seniors. It's not right.
I don't know how you're going to enforce that.
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
We will.
I'd just like to say that, that I don't have the answer to your, exactly where do folks park and then how do we get the business people that are going to businesses not to park here. But a vote for me is a vote against the current status quo in town. So parking and traffic, our town was not built to house as many people as we have. That's just the reality, and we literally cannot, pinpoint the biggest problem, fix that, then pinpoint the next biggest problem, fix that. Like, we really do have to have a strategic vision. I've lived in places where they created a community that fit enough parking. There's businesses. Milford should be a destination for the other towns around here. You should be able to get home with less than an hour from getting off 495 if you live downtown. So I know your question was related specifically to parking here, but a vote for me is a vote against the status quo.
Thank you. And that was a good question, because we really do have parking issues here. Anyone else have a good question? Mr. Roth, I'm sure you have something you've been thinking about.
Hi, how are you? I want to thank you all for coming and thanking Paul. Outstanding job over the years, Paul. Thank you. Do I have to push a button here? Talk into it. Okay, good enough. So outstanding job, Paul. We really appreciate it. And the parking is a serious problem here at the senior center, and we hope we can resolve. Amy, you speak about the status quo of the current Board of Selectmen. Your opponent, Mr. Walsh, is a current member, and he seems to be, he doesn't seem to vote with the majority all the time, okay? He seems to be different. He seems to vote the other way a lot of times. And that to me is the status quo. How would you change it?
That's a great question. I think that's at the heart of a lot of people's mindset when they heard about my candidacy to run. So folks say you have a long way to go because Mike does vote against the other people, and so he's doing what we want to. And I just say that I have a lot of experience handling bullies. I know how to present myself in a way that doesn't passively enable this sort of behavior to continue. And Mike's a nice guy. He doesn't know how to do that. That's as simple as that. Did that answer your question?
Not really, but it's your answer. Thank you.
Okay, one's a silly question and one's not. Who owns the water that the water company is using? That's for Michael, because you would know it.
The water company is owned by R.H. White Construction.
Yes.
And it's been owned by them since 1889. Believe it or not, it was I won't say gift, but it was a political thing that was given to them back in the day by one of these governors that got elected. But that's how it was done back then, and they've had it ever since.
But the water itself is Milford Reservoir, and this and that. So isn't it our water?
They control everything.
They control it? They actually
They own the reservoir up in, which is half in Milford, half in Hopkinton.
Right.
They own all the water that you see at the plant. They own it. They have rights to it. Yep.
Yeah, they do. I wasn't sure because somebody asked. The other question is the Fino pool. We voted on it several years ago that we wanted it, and nothing has been done with it. What are you planning on doing with it, other than letting it collapse?
Again, it is an engineering phase right now. The problem that we're having is when it was built, position of where it is to the Charles River was not a problem, and now it is because of the regulations of being so close to the water. So what they're looking at right now is if you look at the pool, the far wall, which is going to be a major reconstruction as part of the pool, it may end up being too close by regulation to the Charles River, and that could pose a problem of what we do with that pool. So, and it's all because regulations have changed over the years.
That I can understand. My house was 85 feet away from a river that was 100 years ago, and I had problems with them. Yeah, thank you.
Good questions, Robert. Pat, you got a question? Not yet. She's thinking about it. We're gonna get back. Yep.
I think I can readdress those.
Yep, Sandra, go right ahead. Those were good questions.
This is related to trash, and I'm not going to direct it toward Paul because we've had many conversations about this problem. I think in the older part of town, by that I mean Main Street from one end to the other and both sides, trash has become a big problem, and have the rats that come along with it. I'm wondering if the town, this would be for Mike, has there ever been consideration to take a more uniform approach to trash collecting in Milford, the way, say, Natick does, Framingham does, even some of the smaller towns, where you have, everyone has the same receptacles, everyone uses the same receptacles, there's none of this overflow, and if there is a lot of overflow, you pay for the bags, you pay to have it picked up.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I've had conversations with Paul about this. Is nothing is more frustrating to me. And I'm not saying that your streets aren't important. I'm not saying that. But let's just use East Main Street and Main Street. Well, everybody knows the trash pickup on East Main Street and Main Street's on Mondays, same as it is on my street on Prairie Street. And everybody puts their trash out either Saturday night or sometimes Sunday. This is one of the things that we're working on, and just to use as an example so you know, is there's a group of us, a committee, that's working on redoing Draper Park and redoing Dewey Park, the Dewey Boy statue. And one of the things we're looking at is bringing the statue up closer to the road because we call it the gateway to the community. Well, East Main Street's a gateway to our community. I say all the time, when you cut off of 495 and the first major intersection you get into, you got the vacant Gibbs gas station on the left-hand side. You've seen me very, very vocal, okay? We're gonna clean that lot up, and we've already started, but these are the gateways of our community. So now you're out for a drive with your family on a Sunday afternoon, you're going up East Main Street, and everybody's got their trash out. And if it's a windy day, it's blowing all over the road. It's unacceptable, unacceptable. So yes, I would support that. I would. Everybody has the same containers, you have to use them. This can be out there, this cannot be out there. You know, you drive by and there's things out there that shouldn't.
They need to be covered and contained.
Yeah.
Trash bags piled high on top of old, that's nothing but a draw for the rats. And actually even the poor birds, and I do love the birds,
Right.
they start picking at the bags and the next thing you know, there's trash all over the place.
And Paul's department does a great job. But as we all know in life, there's always room for improvements. And how you get those improvements is getting together through conversation.
Paul, do you want to address that?
Yes, yeah, thank you. The municipalities that have these uniform bins usually have like a 96-gallon for recycling and a 64-gallon for rubbish. Hopefully you're going to induce the practice of recycling because of the larger bin. The problem, that's called single stream recycling, where everything is mixed into one. And so therefore it's much easier for the resident to use. Unfortunately, right now, if you don't know, because it's been all over the press, 60 Minutes just had it, recycling is broken, and it has been recycling for the past 3 or 4 years. It costs $75 a ton around to get rid of recycling, where it only costs us $68 a ton now to get rid of rubbish. Milford is one of those towns that did not opt for single-stream recycling. Single-stream recycling is very labor-intense, and one of the biggest issues with that is contamination, because you're mixing everything. One of our main commodities was newspaper. Well, we're not only getting less and less newspaper because everybody goes on the internet now to read the newspaper, but when we do have it, it's now contaminated with the shards of glass that get mixed in, the fats and oils that gets mixed in with the cans. And a lot of the people, the countries who are taking our paper don't want it anymore. China was our biggest customer, and we've been pissing them off quite often, so they don't take our commodities anymore. And that wasn't the reason why, it's just because they wanted to start recycling themselves and clean up their own country. So we have a glut of recycling right now. Milford, I'm proud to say, is only one of 5 communities in the state of Massachusetts that still has this rubbish and recycling off the tax base. There are no user fees, there are no bag fees. The town of Medway, right up the street from us, has both bag and user fee. And we did that because we stuck with commingling. We didn't stick with a single stream. Again, to repeat also for effectiveness, single stream is very, very, very expensive, and recycling is broken right now. And if we did opt for those larger bins, don't forget, we have about 12,000 households that use our recycling program. And how are we going to get those bins out? Those communities that do have those bins are on a bag fee or a user fee or both. They're not off the tax base because they can't afford it. It's just something that we can't afford anymore. We can't afford anymore. We priced it. It'd be like $1.2 million just for the bins. Now the logistics of getting them out to all the households. Now, again, not to sound like Archie Bunker, but we have a lot of international residents in this municipality, and for them to, right now, as simple as it is, a lot of apartment complexes do not abide by our rules. They have them out by Saturday when it's a Monday pickup. They have 8 and 9 bags out, and we have a maximum of 4. And because Milford is we have a lot of multi-families, it's going to be hard to get that word out. It's going to take years to get the word out that, no, the 96-gallon barrel isn't for rubbish, it's for recycling. Franklin, as lucrative as that town is, has that same program. Jeffrey Nutting, the administrator, once said, we're going to save millions because of recycling. Well, recycling wasn't broken then, it's broken now. And not only that, but as lucrative as Franklin is, and as less multi-families as they have compared to Milford, they're having a problem enforcing their regulation. So people, well, write them a ticket, take them to court. Okay, so let's say Franklin at one time had 200 people to take to court that month. As an attorney, who's going to enforce this? Who's going to prosecute these cases? Like I said,
So it sounds as though
it sounds
just
great,
give up
but
then because it's not going to change.
right now it's not. Unless recycling changes drastically, again, we're paying $68 a ton for our rubbish, $70 a ton for recycling. Not Milford, we're still paying $20 a ton for recycling because our recycling is clean. It's not mixed like most municipalities that were single stream. But anyway, that's why, believe me, we tried, we researched it. At one time we thought it was the second coming of Christ, but it's not. And luckily we did do our research and our diligence because through that time we found out that that wasn't the way to go.
What do you mean when you say our recycling is not mixed? Because they dump it all into the same truck?
I confused you. The main commodity is newspaper in magazines, and we don't mix that in Milford. That has to be separated from your cans, your bottles, and your plastics.
So you dump everything into the same truck?
Yeah, but there's 2 compartments in that truck.
So they go through it and separate it out?
No, there's one big unit for
Oh, and it
paper,
separates.
and there's one
It separates.
for
Okay.
right. They're the newer trucks that they just got.
Okay.
But you know that's why, like I said, it's complicated. It's tough to explain. But no, we weren't just sitting back watching all these other towns and cities have nice pretty bins. You know, whatever is convenient can be very costly, and recycling is very costly today. And like I said, we're fortunate. Again, we're fortunate to be only one of the 5 cities and towns that do have rubbish and recycling off the tax base. You take your, now that I got a microphone, I'm not going to stop. But you take, what we pay our taxes for. God forbid, we don't need the police and firemen. A lot of us don't have children in school. Now, years ago, if you elder ladies and gents remember, even our sewer, we had no sewer bill back then, remember? Now we do. The only thing we see every week for our taxes is that blue truck coming to pick up our rubbish and recycling. So that's what people see. And as a Board of Health, we don't want to take that away from the Milford residents when we can still afford it up to tax base.
Amy, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I wanted to add to your question, because I could tell that I did not answer that to your liking, which makes perfect sense because you don't know me, but I am a lawyer, I have ethical duties and responsibilities. I also have a lot of personal experience, so what you can expect from me at the Board of Selectmen meetings is when the Board of Selectmen go into an executive session, they make some sort of sketchy decision, I'm not going to go along with that. I have a lot of experience not going along with that. I will come out of executive session and I will say what it is that happened that is inappropriate right there and then. And that's gonna provide a lot to the town. That would have kept us out of so many issues that we're experiencing right now that I believe are self-created and are costing the town a lot of money. So I don't think we should wait till next year. Because I don't know what's going to happen between now and next year. There's more of the same.
Question?
May I have a third question?
You can certainly have a third question. Let Robin have a second one.
I have a second one. One thing that she asked, the fact that the people put their rubbish out there a day or 2 days ahead of time, can you stop them and make them put it out that morning? Because when I moved here in Bellingham, I was from Long Island, we paid over $1,000 for our trash pickup. It's actually $1,500. But can you make them? I mean, Bellingham, we weren't allowed to put it out there to that morning because of the animals.
And what we ask is for that morning as well, or if anything, after 5 o'clock at night, in case someone wakes up too early or too late because they can't put it out on time. The only thing is the enforcement. You know, in the real world, the Board of Health, they have me and one other inspector. And, you know, of course, we have a host of other mandated responsibilities that we have to do. What I was going to suggest as a board member, instead of paying that $1.2 million for bins, we could probably spend maybe 35 for a part-time enforcement agent for recycling and rubbish. Because like I said, you know, the Board of Health is getting to the point where rubbish is taking a form of its own. And a lot of times we can't do our public health. In your majority of cities and towns, you usually have rubbish under a sanitation department or a DPW. Years ago, just a brief history, the reason why it's under the Board of Health, if you remember, we used to have the garbage man back in the 50s and 60s and early 70s. They used to come in back to your house, pick up the garbage truck used to leak and smell and flies and rats used to come. That's why it was under the Board of Health. Well, now it's a little more than that. It's, you know, now you get curbside pickup, curbside recycling. You have regulations and rules that you have to follow, such as putting your rubbish out, make sure it's covered to prevent it from any type of rats and flies and whatnot. But like I said, it becomes tough. There's the real world out there, and we just don't have the time or the energy to do it right now. But I would suggest that now it comes to a point that you do need that extra help to help enforce the rubbish and recycling rules. Those who aren't recycling, those who are improperly putting their rubbish in recycling out. Again, that takes a whole lot of convincing, a whole lot of education and awareness, and a whole lot of enforcement. And a lot of times the courts can't hear it because they're so bogged up. And by the time we get our case, by the time we do prosecute or try to prosecute, a lot of time goes by and a lot of wasted energy and money goes by. But anyway, that's what my idea would be. We do have those rules out. The only thing is that we have to enforce them properly. And we try the best we can. We send letters out. We even have a little a fining system that we use. And it works. They pay the town clerk the $25 fine and all that. But it's something that we need more of, because the more and more people that are moving here, the newer people that are moving here need that education. What we tried as a Board of Health too is to put the onus on the landlord, where it's your property, you have to now convey to your tenants what our rules and regulations are, and if they're messing up, you're responsible. For instance, if you guys ever noticed, sometimes you see a pile of rubbish out, like almost a mountain, and what happened, the tenant moved out like a thief in the night, put their rubbish out, everything they had in their house, and just took off. Can't find the tenant, no one knows where they are, so state code said it's the landlord's responsibility now, so that's what we go after. So again, in realtors too, if you're renting a house or if you're selling a multifam, you know, let the people know that you're responsible to get our rules and regulations across to the occupants that what we have in our town.
Just out of curiosity, I know you said the recycle is really low, which is great. I was helping a friend move out of his house in Norfolk, and they have the recycle center there. They have 12 different bins in that one. And all, is it possible to, I used to drop at the recycle place here, and is it possible to get a bigger area so that we can have more bins and separate it? Because, I mean, they had glass, they had 3 different colored glass. Each bin had a different one for each plastic, different one. So I imagine they're making money off of their recycle.
That's what we're working on now. We do have a place for recycling for those who either missed or those who don't qualify for our pickup service, curbside. And what I mean by that is a 6-family or more are on their own. So like I said, that's what we're working on now. But again, we do have a place for that. And you don't even need a permit to use recycling. You just go and use it. Right?
Pat thought of a question. There you go.
On the same
Close
subject.
to your mouth.
What about those people who don't leave their recycles out at all?
Yeah, again, that's a whole other thing, and that's a rule. That's a local regulation that we have. Matter of fact, in order for us to get a lot of grants, we did receive a lot of grants in the past years from DEP because of our recycling efforts. And one of the requirements was to make sure we have local regulations, requiring our residents that qualify for our pickup to make sure that they do recycle. Those that don't, what we usually do is we have the recycling driver, because he knows it best. I mean, he goes around and he would, give us an idea of what particular addresses are not recycling. And that's just not based on 1 or 2 drive-bys, because you could be on vacation, you could be visiting somebody, you're sick or whatever. So after 4 or 5 times, if house A and B are not recycling, they'll let us know. And then we'll send them a letter telling them, just to let you know, we do have a rule that you must recycle. It's enforced by a $25 fine. If you don't have a bin, this is the way you get them. And here are our recycling rules and what we can recycle and what we can't recycle. And that's usually followed up. And if they are still in violation, then they get a fine. What most cities and towns do is after the second or third notification, they don't pick up their rubbish anymore. And that's something that we were thinking of to do with property, maybe 3 families or more, or 4 families, or 4 and 5 families. We were thinking of doing that, but that could be counterproductive because now you're creating a health hazard. So that's something that we have to reconsider. But again, I think that enforcement agent would probably be the best bet, to actually knock on the door, speak to the person. A lot of time, education and awareness is the best thing to get your point across.
Yeah, I noticed there are a lot of, they haven't left recycles out for over a year.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I don't think
That's
that's
not
working. I have next door neighbors that have been there almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
They've never
They
recycled.
never have, huh?
I have another house down the street. They've lived there longer than I have, and I've been there 30 years.
Yeah.
They never recycle. So I don't think it's working.
It's not, and that's something that we've got to make sure it does.
Yeah.
Questions? Peg, got a question? Not yet?
Yeah. Sure.
Certain way to hold this?
No, just put it near your mouth.
Just to follow up on this, do I understand you correctly that recycling is mandatory?
Yes, it is. It's mandatory in Milford.
That's what I mean, in Milford.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would enforce that, but that's another issue. But as far as when you do, to the extent that you have an enforcement problem
Yes,
that
we
you've
do.
mentioned,
Right.
and the town does issue fines
Yes, we
to
do.
violators
Right.
of
It's
$25.
$25. It's called a non-criminal disposition. It's something that the town adopted at a town meeting that, enforcement agents can issue fines.
And how successful has the town been in collecting those fines?
We've been very, very good.
And what if people don't, what if I didn't pay the fine?
Then it becomes a problem, then we take them to court. They have 21 days to, it's like a parking ticket.
Okay.
It's based on the same statute that your parking tickets are from.
Have you considered increasing the fines?
And I would just, it's just given that suggestion. No, we haven't, but that is a good point.
You should,
We should.
it seems to me.
Right,
That would get people's attention,
Yes, it
especially
would.
landlords.
right, right.
It seems to me.
Good point. Yeah, thank you.
Questions? Questions? Ed, you did another question?
I could develop.
I know he does. By the look on his face. Ed Roth is the chairman of our board for the Council on Aging. He's also the director of Shine, so he's got a lot of things on his mind. Go ahead.
I do. 5 guys run the school committee, okay? We're left alone for some strange reason. All right? So, starting with John, quick 2 minutes, what would you reduce to get the budget under control? And just move right down if you would.
Well, I think it's important to go in and do a needs-based analysis, make sure that any programs that we're thinking about in your situation, possibly eliminating, aren't actively enhancing students' educations. This is something actually I have a little bit of experience with from my time in Sudbury Public Schools. My very first year on the job, they actually had a scenario where they had to cut the budget pretty significantly. And the superintendent made a suggestion to the community. They cut the elementary strings program. That went over like a lead balloon. It was actually a very popular program. A lot of kids were involved in it, and it was invested in it. And so we did a study where we actually looked at how often, how many kids were participating in it over the last few years, how many we could project out for the next couple of years. If we get into that sort of situation where we want to try and reduce the budget, then I think we'd want to make sure that we're taking a similar approach where we're actually bringing the community into the decision-making process, and then we're also doing a secondary analysis, which is how crucial every program is to students' development and to enhancing their education. So that would really be my approach to tackling these sort of difficult budget situations.
I'm actually going to pivot on what Justin said because we talked about this the other night at the CFM forum. And it would be a needs-based review based on student enrollment in specific extracurriculums, really. We would never cut from a core program. In 3 years of doing budget review, I'm sure you're aware, our total budget is over $60 billion, but our operating budget is somewhere between $42 to $44 million. Out of that, we've never actually had to have a budget reduction, so we've never really been faced with the opportunity, at least within my tenure, of actually reducing the budget around specific programming. We always look for ways to work collaboratively with FinCom, particularly at a FinCom subcommittee level. I am actually on the budget subcommittee and the FinCom subcommittee, and also the capital subcommittee. So looking for ways to reduce costs is a different, I think, approach rather than looking for ways to actually cut. So we're always looking for ways to spend money appropriately, looking for educational impact based on the money that we spend.
Thank you for your question, Ed. I'm going to pivot a little bit off of what Jim was saying. I really like the idea of looking at where can we save the district money versus cutting programs. As a school committee member, I would not want to see anything cut. I think everything that we have offering at our schools are fantastic, but I think there are ways that we can save the district money, and that could possibly be done through a number of different ways. They're all really green initiatives at the end of the day. I would look to replace some of the lighting in the buildings with low-cost, low-energy LED lightings. Right now, they all have high-power fluorescent bulbs, which could really be expensive to run. The schools themselves, they're in okay shape. The windows can be better ventilated to reduce our heat costs in the winter. Heat's literally flying out of those buildings through the windows. And then the energy costs, I would really want the district to really strongly consider the use of solar, wind, or just more sustainable power to fuel our buildings. I know in Mendon Upton School Region District, they have a school building that has carports in their parking lots, and that school is saving $7,000 thanks to those solar panels. We have 5-6 schools in our district. Imagine having solar panels at each of them. We'd be saving a lot of money, I think. So that's how I would want to fix the budget. I would want to see where we can save versus cutting.
Well, based off of what RJ said, what your question was, if you had to cut something and get the budget under control. If I had to cut something, I'd look at the initiatives the past 50 years have put into place year over year, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year that they keep renewing and putting money into. Like, are they helping? I think that's where I would look into cutting. If they're not helping the students succeed, then we get rid of it and do something else with the extra money. Or maybe give it back to the town or reappropriate to something that's going to help the students succeed. And that's how I help get the budget under control.
I look at it a bit differently. Before we talk about cutting, we need to stop the irresponsible, reckless spending now being done by the school committee. If you like, I can give you an example. Not too long ago, a couple months back, the school committee awarded a contract for solar panels on one of our premier buildings to the first person that came to them and said, give me the contract because this is an opportunity of a lifetime. They did not consider having it bid out or even getting a second opinion of what it might cost. They just gave a many $1,000 contract out to the first person that came down the pike. I consider this reckless, irresponsible spending, and we need to stop it. We stop this. Now, this is one example of at least one that I am aware of, and now you are aware of this. How many others have gone on that we are not aware of? Before we start cutting anything, we need to make sure that the spending we do is in line with what you would expect. I'm sure you would not, if you had a home and you needed a roof put on, you wouldn't, and a roofer came to your house and said, I'll put a roof on your house for $50,000. Would you just say, yeah, okay, go ahead and do it? I don't think so. And there's no reason that the school committee should do that. So before we think about cutting anything, we need to understand how you buy, how you negotiate contracts, and we will not have to cut a thing if that's done. And I will see to it that that is done. That's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions? You know, this peanut gallery, I'm not comfortable with the questions.
I promise it's something very simple. All right. You want me to say that?
No. I'm watching you.
I'm not sure which member of the committee who's running can answer this question, but I go up to the high school quite a bit for events, and walking in, it always bothers me that there's bottles and trampled and crumbled steps, and it's just messy outside. And we have so many good programs within the high school. It just seems like a simple fix. Has anybody else noticed that and have any ideas for that?
Well, I have noticed that, and that is, while it might seem like a relatively minor problem, it is indicative of a much larger problem that we have with our schools, and that is the lack of maintenance, the lack of preventive maintenance. Because the school committee knows that they don't have to maintain their buildings. All they need to do is dig into the wallets of our seniors and say, we need $60 million to build a new school because nobody maintained the school we had, and now we're going to have to shell out the money to build a new school. We need to have a comprehensive preventive maintenance plan, one that works, one that is monitored, one that is set up by somebody who knows how to set preventive maintenance plans up. I know how to do that. I can make this work. And you will see, if I am elected, you will see the day when you don't see a speck of dirt anywhere in any of our schools. Thank you.
Well, I'd have to agree with Mike. The high school is definitely lacking in cleanliness and just throughout everything. And most of the schools just seem old and outdated and sometimes dirty, sometimes clean. Depends on when it is. Depends on the school. Woodland's beautiful, the high schools, and he's right. It is a preventive maintenance issue, and I would love to tackle that once I get on the school committee.
Thanks for your question. I think it is absolutely an issue that that our buildings are they're in the shape that they're in. I think the buildings should be a reflection of what this community should be. And, you know, steps falling apart and, you know, bottles and trash in the buildings. I don't think that's a reflection of what Milford is, and we must be able to do better.
Thank you. I think what we're referring to is actually a janitorial issue, not a maintenance issue. Brock Quinn and the Capital Budget Committee spend millions of dollars a year on building maintenance and upgrade. To Mr. Visconti's point, though, I will tell you that if we did not have a preventive maintenance program, the HVAC system in the high school is over 45 years old, and without preventive maintenance, we wouldn't have reached 45 years old. So I think it's important to note that we do put a significant amount of dollars into preventive maintenance, which is why the facilities are actually still functioning and operational. In terms of future development of the facilities, that's another capital budget issue. We do have a new high school that is on track for the next 5 to 7 years, and that is within the state bid process at the moment. It's part of our long-range facility plan. However, your specific question does revolve around cleanliness and neatness. That is an actual janitorial issue, and it's one that we are negotiating in our contract with our janitorial unit at the moment. But we do recognize the fact that we don't have resources associated with keeping up with the volume of trash that is apparent not only at the high school level, but also at the field level. So there's something that has been recognized and also being addressed.
So I want to take a little bit of a different approach to this question. I want to bring up the School Improvement Council I serve on at the high school. I know over the last couple meetings we've been discussing sustainability efforts and what students can do to get involved in that. And I think that's one avenue we could take to really tackle this issue. If there's a lot of recyclables that are scattered about, and even anything else, we should try and engage the students, help them learn about what sustainability means and how different recycling methods. And I know there's a hunger there for it. The students that serve on the council are looking for different ways to get involved in making the high school a more green, more sustainable environment. So I think really that is the best approach to tackle this, in addition to what Jim's saying with the looking at the janitorial services contract.
Mike, you're chomping at the bit here to say one more thing. We don't debate, so
not a debate.
no debating.
No debate.
The preventive maintenance plan that is in place in our school system is a joke. There is absolutely no intensive protocol for accessing any of our roofs. So what you find is you have all kinds of people crawling around on our roofs. Next thing you know, we have leaks. And the next thing you know, oh, we need a couple $1 million to replace the roof. Believe me when I tell you, we need an intensive, well-monitored preventive maintenance plan. We do not have one now. Thank you.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I just want to thank all my seniors for coming. This has been a great debate, a great forum. If you would like, we can start at the table. If you have any closing remarks, just, quickly, not big statements. I think you all need to get back to work or do whatever you want, but...
Yes, anyway, again, like Sue just said, thanks so much for taking the time and interest in coming today. It's great to learn more about the candidates and what they intend to do, and that way that'll improve your voting capacity. Anyway, again, thanks so much, and I appreciate it. And thanks for the kind words, too. See you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
I wanted to thank everybody for coming out and listening to me, and I know nobody really had any questions, but I hope that if you do have any questions, you reach out to the person, Sue, who handled getting this together, and she can email me if you have anything after I leave. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. I do appreciate it. The library is near and dear to my heart, and I hope it is near and dear to your heart, and that you take advantage of all of its offerings. Thank you.
My name is Amy Clifford. I'm running for selectman. If you do not like what's going on with our current Board of Selectmen, you have an opportunity this year to make an impact. So I hope that you vote for me on April 2nd. Thank you.
Again, I would like to thank all of you for coming out. I would like the opportunity to get reelected and serve again. Just to give you an example of the type of selectman that I am. I had a family reach out to me last week. Their backyard was being flooded by water that was coming down out of an area that the trees were all clear. Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, after my boss's mother's funeral, I was in their backyard. They had water running down the wall of their patio. I called the highway surveyor, he called the town engineer. They were both there Friday afternoon. I followed up and went back there Saturday myself. It was better, but it wasn't right. At 8 o'clock this morning, I was on the phone with the town administrator saying, it's unacceptable. I don't care whose land it is. The water's getting on our street. Now we have control over it. That's the type of selectman I am. If you talk to people around town, I get very, very involved because I care so much for this community. And I want to give back to a community that continues to give to my family, to my friends, and to the seniors, and to the taxpayers, to everybody. So honestly, I want to serve again. I ask for your vote on April 2nd. Thanks again.
Thank you all for coming out. As I said before, my name is Justin Dulac, and I'm running to hit the ground running. With years spent on the high school school improvement council and as the executive assistant to the superintendent of Sudbury Public Schools, and as a substitute teacher here in the district, I've tackled education from a lot of different perspectives, and I want to bring all those lessons with me to the school committee. And if you give me your vote on April 2nd, I'm going to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for having me here this morning. I'm looking for an opportunity to do another 3 years on the school committee. I think the last year was very enlightening for me. I tried to make as much of an impact as possible. I believe in a roll your sleeves up approach and a getting involved approach. Again, that's why I'm involved in several subcommittees and initiatives. So I hope I can count on your vote for April 2nd, on April 2nd. Thank you.
Again, thank you everybody for coming out here tonight to this important event to really learn about all the candidates that are running for office here in Milford. I would ask for your vote on April 2nd. School committee gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to learn television production.
What's your name?
My name is RJ Sheedy, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I know it's small. Yeah, my name is RJ Sheedy, I'm running. Thanks to school committee, I was able to get into a career path that I really, really love, from filming the meetings. And, I really learned a lot about those meetings, most importantly, how a good committee member reacts and responds to their residents' thoughts and concerns. So I would really, really love the opportunity to serve the school committee. And I, RJ Sheedy, would ask for your vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out this morning. My name is Tarek Brandon, I'm running for school committee. I just want to give back to the town that's given me so much, and the schools were a big part of it. I go back in a heartbeat. I love Milford. I love Milford Public Schools, and I just want to give back everything that they allowed me to accomplish in my life so far, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today within my job, in terms of career, and I love it. That's why I want to give back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike Visconti. Something that some of you may not know. Our current schools are on the verge of being taken over by the state because our current school committee has failed to operate them properly, and they have declined to a point where we are inches away from the state coming in to take over our schools. I will work harder than anybody you know to bring our schools back to the level that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Before you all go, I have a question. How many seats do we have for the school committee? So there's 2 seats open for the school committee. Board of Selectmen, there's 1 seat. Constable, nobody showed up. I don't know about that. How many on the library?
There's 2 seats open, and there are 3 candidates.
3 candidates?
No incumbents.
But there are 2 seats open. And for the
There's 2
cemetery?
There's 2 seats open, 3 people running, 2 of them are incumbents.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys coming. This really speaks volumes. You took time out of your day to come here and speak with us. That's big. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.